Here is the part most highlight reels leave out. The single most talked about thing about the 2026 World Cup had almost nothing to do with a ball being kicked. Over 5 weeks across 3 host countries, this tournament produced a viral pet duck, a sitting president phoning FIFA about a red card, and a halftime show that broke football's own rulebook. Whether you liked it or not, the World Cup stopped being just a football tournament years ago. Here's how 2026 actually went down. A World Cup is officially 104 football matches. Unofficially, it's the single biggest shared television event on the planet, watched in almost every country that has electricity. Please subscribe, click the bell icon, and hit like. Thank you. And once an event gets that big, football stops being the only thing happening inside it. Politics gets in, pop culture gets in, even a duck gets in. 3 ingredients, 1 tournament, 39 days for all of it to collide. Here's the part most fans miss. This World Cup wasn't chaotic by accident. It was chaotic by design. FIFA expanded the tournament to 48 teams for the first time, spread it across 3 host nations, and built a knockout bracket loose enough for outsiders to sneak through. More teams means more storylines. More storylines mean more chances for something to go sideways. And a tournament this large is not just a sporting event anymore. It is a business, a diplomatic stage, and a piece of pop culture, all running at once. Build a big enough stage, and politics, pop culture, and pure chance all show up wanting a piece of it. Start with the smallest one. Merlin is a pet duck from Mexico City who wandered into street celebrations wearing tiny socks and a Mexico jersey after the team's opening win and never really left the spotlight again. He was made an honorary ambassador for his own city and sat in on a presidential press conference during the tournament. Fans coined a phrase for him that roughly translates to "Long live the duck." FIFA appointed 3 official mascots for this World Cup. None of them were a duck. The public settled on its own anyway. Now let the sport do its part. Cape Verde, a nation of under 500,000 people making its World Cup debut, became the smallest country ever to reach the knockout stage by drawing all 3 of its group matches, including a scoreless draw against reigning champion Spain. Their goalkeeper, 40 years old, had spent the previous season playing in Portugal's 2nd division. His own goal, beyond the results, was simpler than any of it. Get his mother to the United States to watch him play. He managed that too before the run finally ended against Argentina. No wins, no losses either. Just enough results landing at exactly the right moments to rewrite the record books. Then the institution running the tournament broke its own rules. Football's laws cap halftime at 15 minutes. Not a guideline, a law. For the first ever World Cup final halftime show featuring Madonna, Shakira, BTS, and Justin Bieber, the break stretched to nearly 28 minutes, almost double the legal limit written into the sport's own rulebook. Sports scientists warn that a break that long lets players' muscles cool down, which can raise the risk of injury when the game restarts. Critics in more than one country called it too American for a global tournament. In the sport's single most tradition-bound match, the people who wrote the rule chose not to follow it, and then a head of state got involved. USA striker Folren Balogun picked up a red card that, under the rules, meant an automatic 1-match ban. Then came a phone call from the President of the United States to FIFA's president. A White House task force reportedly helped push the appeal along. Days later, the suspension was lifted in what appears to be the first time since 1962 that a World Cup red card didn't result in a player being suspended. Belgium's Football Federation called the decision unprecedented. UEFA, European football's governing body, said FIFA had gone somewhere it should not have gone. FIFA called it an independent process. Balogun played. The U.S. lost anyway. Here's the detail almost everyone forgets once the headlines fade. For all that noise, the actual football still produced the most dramatic ending of the entire tournament. Spain and Argentina level at 0-0 deep into extra time in what was very likely Lionel Messi's last World Cup match. Messi is 38. It came down to 6 minutes. Then Ferran Torres, coming on as a substitute, scored in the 106th minute to win Spain its 2nd World Cup title. 1 goal, 106 minutes. All that surrounding noise, and the tournament still ended on football's terms. This World Cup wrapped up only a few weeks ago, and multiple outlets are already calling it one of the best ever played. That is worth sitting with. The duck, the pop stars, the presidential phone call, none of it drowned out the football. It proved the football was strong enough to carry everyone else's story too. So, here is 2026, reassembled. A 48-team format made room for outsiders, and Cape Verde turned 3 draws into history. FIFA set aside its own halftime law on the biggest broadcast on Earth. A phone call from the White House rewrote a suspension mid-tournament. And through every bit of that noise, a substitute's goal in the 106th minute still ended up being the moment people will remember longest. That is not a coincidence. That is what happens when you build the biggest stage on the planet and hand it to the one sport built to survive anything thrown at it. The game didn't change. You did. You're welcome. Subscribe if you like this. It really means a lot.